At the company's annual party, Felix and his secretary, Zara, stood close together, whispering something. The young woman giggled sweetly. As she laughed, she playfully punched Felix's shoulder. "Mr. Felix, you're so annoying." I stood quietly in a corner, holding a cocktail, staring blankly at them. Perhaps sensing my gaze, Zara's smile faded. She adjusted her black dress and then hooked her arm through Felix's. She pulled Felix over to me, her lips slightly curled in embarrassment. "Sorry, Lily, I've kept your Mr. Felix for too long. Here he is, back to you." Zara pushed Felix towards me, playfully sticking out her tongue. "Lily, Mr. Felix and I were just talking about company business. You're not angry, are you?" "Of course not. A proper wife should have a proper wife's demeanor." Right in front of me, Felix put his arm around Zara's shoulder, brazenly raising an eyebrow at me. "It's raining outside. I'll take Zara home later. You can take a taxi back yourself." It was March, and the weather in Namtan was always unpredictable. Outside the window, neon lights shimmered through the light drizzle, casting sparkling rays that unsettled my heart. I pulled my gaze from the window and let it rest on Felix's hand. His fingers were as beautiful as he was, long, slender, pale, with well-proportioned knuckles. Zara had very fair skin, but on her bare shoulder, Felix's hand was even whiter, like polished jade, smooth and captivating. These hands, this face. No wonder I was so infatuated in the past, wanting this man at any cost. I had pursued Felix for 9 long years. From the age of 16 to 25, he was my entire youth. At my most infatuated, just one word from Felix, and I would willingly fly 10 hours from abroad to be with him. Flowers in my left hand, breakfast in my right, I knocked on Felix's apartment door. "Felix, good morning." "Oh my God, why are you here?" Felix's eyes widened in surprise. He was wearing a black coat, his hair disheveled, and he held a luggage bag in his hand, looking as if he was about to go on a long trip. I shoved the bouquet into his hand. "Didn't you tell me to come back?" Last night, Felix called me for 3 hours straight. He must have been drunk, his voice hoarse, whining like a child. "Lily, I wish you were here with me. I miss you so much. Will you come back to me?" We had known each other for a long time, but this was the first time Felix said he missed me. Over the phone, my heart thumped, deafeningly loud. After hanging up, I was so ecstatic that I immediately packed my bags and bought the earliest plane ticket back home. On the plane, I didn't sleep for a second. When I closed my eyes, all I could see was Felix's handsome face. He was sad. He said he missed me. He said he needed me. Was he finally going to accept me? What should I say when we met again? I was restless, tangled in knots, frowning one moment, then smiling foolishly the next. I stood in front of the mirror, practicing over and over again. "Felix, I'm back. I won't leave again. I'll stay with you forever, okay?" Those imagined lines, in the end, I couldn't utter a single one. Felix scratched his head, suddenly realizing. I was just kidding. "Why did you come back now?" He casually placed the bouquet on the shoe rack by the door. I made plans with friends. We're about to go on a road trip to Sichuan. No time now, I'm heading out." Felix squeezed past me and walked towards the elevator. I stood dumbfounded. "A road trip? But didn't you say you weren't in a good mood?" "I'm not in a good mood, that's why I need to go out and unwind." Ding, the elevator opened, and 2 of Felix's friends walked out arm in arm. "Brother Felix, the car's waiting downstairs. I'm just gonna pop up to your place to use the restroom." "Oh, Lily, you're here too? Are you coming with us?" Kyle frowned, nudging Felix with his elbow, signaling. "Didn't you say there were a few other girls?" Cough, cough. Felix shook his head, turned back, and opened the door to his apartment. "Lily isn't coming with us." They walked into the living room, and I heard Kyle lower his voice. "She flew all night to get back for you?" It's not nice to leave her alone like this, is it? Felix snapped impatiently. Did I tell her to come back? Another friend of his burst out laughing, mediating. It's fine, Lily won't get angry. For all these years, our brother Felix just calls, and she comes, he tells her to go, and she goes. What can she say? Felix nodded indifferently. Yeah, just ignore her. Coming over without a word early in the morning, she's crazy. Chapter 4. Crazy. 3 cold words, spoken with contempt. It was as if an icy needle pierced my heart, chilling me from head to toe. Laughter echoed in the room. I clutched the bag of breakfast in my hand, forcing a smile. All the expectations from my journey vanished. Because of a single sentence from Felix, I had rushed back and forth, filled with worry and hope. But in his eyes, from beginning to end, I was nothing more than a clown. I threw the full bag of breakfast into the trash, then blocked and deleted all contact with Felix. Then I quickly bought a plane ticket and left Namtan. I thought that the 3 words Felix in my life had finally come to an end. After that, I followed my plan, listened to my parents, and stayed abroad. But unexpectedly, a month later, Felix reappeared in front of me. He didn't confess his feelings. Instead, he knelt directly and proposed to me. He said he was a terrible person. He said he had lived in immense pain that past month. He said he hadn't realized how important I was to him before. Felix held up a sparkling diamond ring, kneeling for a long time in the cold autumn wind. My rational mind told me not to forgive him so easily. But it was Felix. He was my entire vibrant and passionate youth. I couldn't say no to him. Felix knew very well that I was easily embarrassed, soft-hearted, and had no backbone. On our wedding night, he went out drinking with friends, got completely drunk, and didn't come home all night. The next day, I was angry, but with just a few coaxing words from him, my anger melted away. All these years, no matter how outrageous he was, as long as he hugged me and spoke sweetly in a low voice, no matter how great my anger was, it would disappear instantly. He took advantage of my love for him, pushing his luck, showing no regard for anything. A few days ago, he even suggested that I accept an open marriage. It all started when I saw a photo Zara had sent him on his phone. She was wearing a thin strap nightgown, and on her pristine, slender neck, several obvious bruises were visible. Zara complained. How am I supposed to wear a dress tomorrow? I shoved the phone screen in front of Felix, demanding an explanation. Initially, he got angry. Are you crazy? Who gave you permission to go through my phone? Is there no trust left between husband and wife? Seeing me stare at him coldly, he lowered his voice. Don't misunderstand, Zara probably sent it by mistake. I scoffed. Felix, provoked, lost his patience. Fine, if you want to think that way, go ahead. I'm too lazy to explain. With that, he reached out to snatch the phone. Unexpectedly, his hand accidentally hit the call button. The other end immediately picked up. Zara's voice rang out, so sweet it gave me goosebumps. Honey, look at my neck. Everyone will laugh at me at work tomorrow. It's all your fault. Felix was flustered and quickly hung up. They both looked at each other in silence for a few seconds. Felix threw the phone on the table, his face expressionless as if it were nothing big. Zara is my girlfriend. When the truth was spoken, Felix seemed relieved, stating it bluntly. Lily, you can find a boyfriend too. We can both be free, I won't object. Felix said that he was inherently not a decent man. The outside world was full of temptations, and he couldn't keep himself solely for me. But he promised that with others, it was just a fleeting fling, while with me, it was true love. He even said that sex and love were 2 things that could be separated. An open marriage would be good for our relationship. Let me give you an example. It's like I eat at home every day. Whatever you cook, it's the same few flavors over and over. Who wouldn't get tired of it? You work hard, and I find it bothersome, which only deepens the conflict between us. If I go out for a few meals, I actually appreciate home cooking more. Doesn't that make sense? No matter how delicious the food outside is, I'll still come home in the end. Felix tried hard to convince me, trying to make me accept an open marriage. He said that for thousands of years, men in ancient times had 3 wives and 4 concubines, so why couldn't women nowadays accept that? Whatever exists has its reasons. This has existed for so long, proving it's reasonable and worthy of acceptance. Lily, think carefully. I truly want what's best for you. Felix and I were too deeply intertwined financially. Divorce was not simple. Both families also had cooperative relationships. Clearly, dividing assets was not something that could be resolved in a short time. Felix knew that, so he never mentioned divorce. He only kept emphasizing the benefits of an open marriage. I never agreed. So he started testing me, playing these obedience tests. Sometimes, he would casually text and call Zara in front of me. At the company's annual party today, he even brazenly brought her in front of me. Zara had no idea that Felix and I had already spoken frankly, thinking she had hidden it very well. She even pretended to complain, glancing at Felix. "Mr. Felix, what nonsense are you talking about? A proper wife should be magnanimous? Am I your second wife or something?" Zara pushed Felix's arm off her shoulder. "Lily, Mr. Felix and I are innocent. Please don't overthink it." In front of everyone in the company, Zara still maintained some decorum. She deliberately joked a few words, then slipped past Felix to chat with other colleagues. Felix's eyes followed her alluring back without leaving her. "What do you think about what I told you?" I pressed my lips together and turned to look out the window. Felix sighed. "Lily, don't be so stubborn." I gently swirled the drink in my hand, not answering him. "You've had a drink. Who's going to take Zara home later?" The driver was off today, and Felix had driven me here. He looked down at the drink in my hand, as if suddenly remembering something. "Oh, right, I almost forgot." He reached for the glass and placed it on the nearby windowsill. "You haven't had a single sip, have you? So later, you drive, and take Zara and me to her place." I was stunned, unable to believe my ears. "What did you just say?" Felix took a step forward, pushing me close to the window. He lowered his head, his gaze scrutinizing and playful, looking at me. I said, "Later you drive, and take Zara and me to her place." I should have been angry, but my heart was numb, almost devoid of emotion. I gently pushed Felix's chest, raising my head to look him straight in the eye. "Fine. But I've had a drink too. How about my friend comes and takes you both?" Felix froze. The neon lights outside the window reflected in his eyes, sparkling like fragments of light. He was surprised. "You agreed?" "Yeah." I nodded indifferently. Felix looked satisfied. "You're quite sensible. I still have some things to handle. You and Zara can go down first later. She's had a bit too much to drink, remember to take care of her." Felix escorted us to the elevator door, taking off his blazer and draping it over Zara's shoulders. "You're wearing so little. Aren't you cold?" Zara shook her head, her face bashful. "Oh, you shouldn't, Lily is also wearing very little. Mr. Felix, you should give her your coat." Hearing Zara's suggestion, Felix finally noticed my attire. Today, Zara was wearing an off-the-shoulder black long dress, while I was in a high-end strapless gown, my arms and shoulders exposed. Felix frowned. "Who told you to dress so revealingly?" "Serves you right." Zara looked indignant on my behalf. "Mr. Felix, why are you talking to Lily like that?" When the elevator doors closed, Zara's gentle, pitiful demeanor immediately vanished. She tightened Felix's blazer, her thumbs fiddling with the collar, then suddenly sneered. "Lily, you're so pathetic. See? Mr. Felix treats me much better than he treats you. You probably don't know this, but actually, I know." I coldly cut her off. "Felix told me everything about you too. Zara's eyes widened, stunned. You know? You know everything, and yet you still. She paused for a few seconds, then half triumphantly, half contemptuously. I understand. You can't bear to divorce him, so you just turn a blind eye? Zara's lips curled up, her eyes filled with mockery. She said if it were her, with her husband openly keeping a mistress, she'd rather die. Zara counted on her fingers, listing everything Felix had done for her. On my birthday, Felix used the excuse of working overtime, but in reality, he took her shopping. He bought her a house, a car, jewelry, designer bags she wanted for nothing. The bracelets and earrings he sometimes brought home for me were just accessories that came with Zara's bag purchases. She didn't like them, so she let Felix give them to me. Even the man named Felix was her leftovers. Mrs. Lily, you can only pick up what I no longer use. Zara was smug, her eyes gleeful, waiting to see me provoked. I just glanced at her indifferently. Are you done talking? You. Seeing my indifferent attitude, Zara stomped her foot in anger. What are you pretending for? Lily, you're truly too selfish. You don't love Felix at all, do you? If you don't love him, why won't you divorce him? Are you jealous of our love, so you're clinging to the title of Mrs. Felix, refusing to yield it to me? Zara's words grew increasingly vicious. Luckily the elevator stopped on the first floor in time. The lobby was crowded, and people pushed their way in, interrupting the conversation. Zara immediately fell silent, once again adopting a gentle, refined demeanor. She pulled Felix's blazer tighter and stepped out of the hotel lobby. When Felix came down, Zara was smiling as before, linking her arm with his. Mr. Felix, do you really want to take me home? Leaving Lily here alone? Felix raised an eyebrow. Oh? You feel sorry for your sister? Do you want her to come with us? Zara's face flushed crimson. She angrily pinched Felix's arm. Stop talking nonsense, I won't ignore you anymore. Felix chuckled softly, tightening his grip around her waist. All right, tonight it's just you. Outside, a light rain was falling, and the hotel entrance was deserted. The two of them were completely uninhibited, playfully intimate, treating me as if I didn't exist. Until a bright beam of headlights cut through the rain. A Rolls-Royce Phantom pulled up in front of the hotel, and the car door opened. Upon seeing the person who stepped out, Felix's expression immediately changed. Chris? Chris was the younger cousin of Kyle, Felix's close friend. Although he was 5 years younger than us, Felix never dared to act superior in front of Chris. Because Chris was a member of the Chu family. Chris's father was the richest man in Nam Tan. Just based on their kinship, Kyle could act arrogantly all over Nam Tan, let alone Chris. My family, Felix's, and Kyle's were all on a similar level, but the Chu family was far superior, not in the same league. Normally, we didn't have many opportunities to interact. Felix clearly didn't think Chris was the friend I mentioned. He stepped forward cordially to shake Chris's hand, asking, "What are you doing at the hotel at this hour?" Chris didn't answer. His gaze, however, held a hint of anger, staring at me. "It's so cold, why aren't you wearing more clothes?" As he spoke, he took off his own jacket and wrapped it tightly around me. "Hurry up and get in the car." I obediently put my arms through the sleeves of the jacket, pulled the collar tighter, and hunched my shoulders. "Wait a moment, let the driver take Zara home first." "Alright, let's get in the car and talk." Chris's car was a long limousine. 2 rows of genuine leather seats faced each other, with a small table in between holding a bottle of wine and 2 sparkling stemmed glasses. Chris and I sat on one side, while Zara and Felix sat opposite us. Our eyes met, and Felix still hadn't fully recovered. "Wait, hold on, you two. Since when are you close?" He was unbelievably surprised. "Lily, your friend, is Chris?" Chris didn't bother to pay attention, taking my hand and muttering a reproach. "Look how cold your hand is." With that, he rubbed my hands with his own, then pulled my jacket tighter around me, leaving only my head exposed. He even leaned in close, his cheek gently brushing mine. Your cheek is cold too. It's so cold out, why did you insist on going to this silly party? Wouldn't it be better to stay home? Felix was stunned, his pupils contracting sharply. His body leaned forward slightly, his entire posture tense. You. He seemed unable to believe it, stammering, unable to complete his sentence. Zara was the first to react, immediately criticizing me. Oh my God. Lily, you're a married woman. This isn't right. Chris was displeased. What's not right? Zara pointed directly at me. Mr. Felix is still here. You two are being so intimate right in front of him, who knows what you're like behind his back. Mr. Felix, you should see this. Felix gritted his teeth, his face darkened, each word pushed out as if suppressing his anger. Lily, give me an explanation. At the party, I barely ate anything, I was both hungry and cold. As the warmth from the car's air conditioning flowed, the alcohol began to take effect. I felt utterly exhausted, as if my bones had been drained, and I softly leaned against Chris's shoulder. An explanation for what? My hand was still comfortably nestled in Chris's. His hand was rough but warm, large enough to envelop mine. The warmth from his palm spread, radiating throughout my body. I sighed contentedly, gripping his hand tighter, leaning closer to Chris. Chris is my boyfriend. After saying that, I winked at him. You should call Felix brother. Chris pursed his lips, his gaze cold. No. Felix looked as if he'd been struck by lightning. His eyes were glued to our intertwined hands, his face darkened, his voice trembling with fury. Boyfriend? Since when? I frowned, looking at him indifferently. Didn't you say it was an open marriage? Why ask so many questions? At this moment, the car stopped, and the driver's voice came through the partition. Mr. Chris, we've arrived at Londing Apartments. I nodded. We're here. Get out of the car. I'm tired and don't want to argue anymore. Felix's face turned red with anger. He lunged and grabbed my hand. When did you get a boyfriend? Tell me clearly. Zara quickly pulled his arm, gently coaxing. Mr. Felix, don't mind her anymore, let's go home. A woman like her doesn't respect you at all. You should divorce her. Zara got out of the car first, trying hard to pull Felix along. He was bent over, his upper body already leaning towards me. Unprepared, he was pulled forcefully by Zara, stumbling out of the car. His anger flared. Felix turned back and slapped Zara hard. Get lost. Do you think this is your place to speak? Lily, get out of the car now. Chris quickly closed the car door. The driver stepped on the gas, and the car sped away. Through the window, I saw Felix chasing the car, running and cursing, then angrily throwing his phone at the car. The phone missed everything, falling to the ground and shattering. Felix stood breathless in the rain, helplessly watching our car disappear into the night. Chris placed his hand on top of my head, turning my face to him, his eyes filled with jealousy. Don't look at him, look at me. I chuckled. Why are you being so unreasonably jealous? Chris snorted coldly. Yes, I'm jealous. When are you getting a divorce? I didn't want to hear him nag, so I wrapped my arms around his neck, pulled him closer, and kissed him on the lips. Chris's breathing immediately became rapid, forceful, and dominant. He held my waist tightly, as if he wanted to embed me into his very bones. He was indeed young, full of energy. With him taking all my breath, my head spun, and I softly leaned back against the seat. Chris still wouldn't let go, pressing close against me. The heat from his body radiated, a warm mist fogging the car windows. I slightly lifted my leg, intending to cooperate with him, when I suddenly felt my phone vibrating continuously under the seat. I shifted, reached my hand into the seat crevice to find my phone, and answered without looking. Lily. Felix's trembling voice came through the phone. Come home with me right now. Chris leaned down to kiss my neck, his hand sliding from my shoulder, caressing down my arm, then grasping my wrist. Then, he snatched the phone, threw it aside, and held my hand tightly to his side. "Tell him to get lost." Chris lightly bit my collarbone, making me let out a soft groan. "Alright, I'm hanging up now." I didn't go home all night, nor did I turn on my phone. It wasn't until the next morning, after Chris left, that I sluggishly turned it on. Felix had sent a ton of messages. I didn't even bother to read them, just pressed delete all. Although Felix and I were married, just like before we tied the knot, we still managed our own separate companies. The two sides had many deep cooperative projects, and recently, we had even jointly invested to acquire a small company, preparing for its listing. But now, I no longer wanted to continue with him. The financial separation between us was very complicated, and I was so busy I was spinning. I stayed at the office for several days straight, not returning home. Finally, Felix couldn't stand it anymore. He stormed into my office, his face livid. I looked up from the messy pile of documents, glancing at him indifferently. "Is there something wrong?" He suppressed his anger, his voice icy cold. "Why aren't you answering my calls?" "I'm busy." "What do you want, really?" Felix looked miserable, his hair disheveled, eyes bloodshot, and his face visibly haggard. He rubbed his face, walked closer to the desk, and sat down, leaning half his body on the edge of the table. "I'm asking you, what's going on between you and Chris?" I scoffed, tilting my head back to look at him. "However you are with Zara, that's how I am with him. You're the one who proposed an open marriage, Felix. Are you not able to handle it?" Felix stared at me, his gaze both scrutinizing and angry. "Yes, I proposed it. But I only said it last month, and you and Chris don't look like you only met a month ago, do you? What about you and Zara? How long have you two been together?" I didn't even bother to look at him, continuing to organize documents. "We're adults. I'm busy. I don't have time to argue with you. If you can't stand it, then get a divorce. Don't make a scene." Felix froze for a few seconds, then chuckled softly. "Alright, Lily, do you think I don't understand you?" His long, pale fingers gently rested on the back of my hand, stopping my movements as I flipped through documents. "Lily, you're playing hard to get, aren't you? Deliberately provoking me, just like when you blocked my contact 3 years ago." Felix relaxed his entire body, his face full of confidence, his eyes brimming with control, as if everything was in the palm of his hand. Seeing that look, I was momentarily stunned. 3 years ago? At that time, I was completely disheartened, wanting only to end everything with him. Yet, in Felix's eyes, I was playing hard to get? It turned out that when he came to find me, he also carried frustration and unwillingness, thinking he was the loser in this game. No wonder after we got married, Felix often joked with his friends that I was high-handed. At the time, I didn't even understand what he was implying. Once, I had a stomachache and called him to get me water. He was playing games in the living room at the time. I called him several times, but he pretended not to hear me. I struggled to get out of bed and got the medicine and water myself. Felix glanced at me, coldly uttering a sentence. "You can still walk, can't you? Why be lazy? A little exercise might even be good for your health." I held the glass of water in my hand, looking at his indifferent expression, and a sudden anger flared in my heart. "Felix, if you don't care about me at all, then why did you marry me?" At that time, he was on the phone playing games with his friends. Perhaps he felt that I was embarrassing him, so he muttered. "Do you think I wanted to get married? I was just trapped by you." On the other end of the line, his friends burst out laughing. "You need someone willing to fall into the trap. Sister-in-law's skills are so high, no man can escape." Exactly, the 36 stratagems, she used them all. Who can fight against that? Felix also laughed. "Well, consider it over then. Don't laugh, you'll all end up in this situation too." At that time, I was preoccupied with my stomachache and didn't bother to think deeply or argue with him. but looking back later, I realized that Felix was never truly willing in this marriage. The feelings between us were not, as he said, a belated love only realized when he was about to lose me. It was merely a man's wounded pride, a habit of not accepting that someone who once pursued him had disappeared, so he tried every means to pull me back. Therefore, after marriage, he didn't even bother to pretend anymore. Seeing my silence, Felix thought he had guessed my intentions. He breathed a sigh of relief, his expression relaxing, but remembering the struggles of the past few days, a hint of annoyance rose in his heart. "Lily, don't pull this trick again. I don't like you like that. Stop looking at those useless documents. I'll drive you home. Let's eat at home today." Felix pulled the stack of documents from my hands. I flipped through them, realizing that an important contract had been left at home. Well, might as well go back and get it. Felix called the housekeeper beforehand, instructing her to prepare my favorite dishes, his tone somewhat ingratiating. On the way home, no matter what he said, I didn't object, just closed my eyes and rested against the seat. Unexpectedly, he brought up the old topic again, continuing to lecture me. An open marriage is a good thing, but you finding someone to put on a show like that, it's really unnecessary. I even feel embarrassed for you. Lily, you should open your heart and try to interact with other men. But don't look for someone like Chris. This guy, young as he is, already has the entire Chu family in his hands. He's very calculating, 800 layers of cunning. You won't be able to handle him. Or, how about I introduce someone to you? No need. I refused, which only made Felix happier. He even, rarely, was considerate enough to get out of the car and open the door for me. Upon arriving home, the housekeeper had already set a table full of food, and a large bouquet of flowers was also placed on the table. Felix put his arm around my shoulder, waiting for my praise. Today is our wedding anniversary. I didn't forget. He opened the wine, pressed me down onto the chair, and looked very sincere. Lily, marriage needs nurturing. To keep it fresh, you have to constantly create new energy for the marriage. If you live so closed off, with only me in your world, I feel pressured too, you understand? I sighed, serving myself a bowl of soup. I have Chris now, you're not the only one. Felix shook his head and laughed. Still stubborn. I asked Kyle, and Chris only owes you a favor. One snowy night a year ago, Felix called me, asking me to pick him up from a bar. I looked down at my phone, it was 1 a.m. My blanket was warm, and outside, the wind was bitterly cold, and the snow was falling heavily. I told Felix to take a taxi home himself. He said that the snowy roads were slippery, and no driver would take the fare, no matter how much the price increased. Lily, hurry up and pick me up. Having no other choice, I put on my coat and drove out into the snow to find him. But when I arrived at the bar's entrance and called Felix, he didn't answer. I parked the car, braved the cold wind, and walked around to the alley behind the bar. A young couple was passionately kissing. The woman was breathing heavily, her voice sweet. Mr. Felix, my apartment is nearby. Shall we go to my place? The man was also panting. No, I called my wife to pick me up. You go home first. The woman pouted, clinging to him, whispering a few words in his ear. The man chuckled softly. Really? You're truly a vixen. Sooner or later, I'll die because of you. The two embraced tightly. The umbrella in my hand fell to the ground. Snow fluttered down, landing on my hair, quickly forming a thin layer of frost. It was freezing cold, so cold that I just wanted to cry loudly. It was also on that snowy night that I met Chris. His car had broken down, stalled in the middle of the road. Roadside assistance never came, so I drove him home. The next day, Chris invited me to dinner to thank me. From then on, we gradually became closer. Felix overheard about it and confidently assumed that the relationship between Chris and me was merely a social one. His good mood was almost palpable on his face. I'm a very generous person. If you really have someone else, I wouldn't mind. I'd even be happy for you. But you don't need to use Chris to lie. Getting involved with someone like him will only bring you trouble later. He's young but already has the entire Chu family in his hands, very calculating, with 800 layers of cunning. You won't be able to handle him. Or, how about I introduce someone to you? No need. I refused, which only made Felix even more pleased. He even, rarely, was considerate enough to get out of the car and open the door for me. Upon arriving home, the housekeeper had already set a table full of food, and a large bouquet of flowers was also placed on the table. Felix put his arm around my shoulder, waiting for my praise. Today is our wedding anniversary. I didn't forget. He opened the wine, pressed me down onto the chair, and looked very sincere. Lily, marriage needs nurturing. To keep it fresh, you have to constantly create new energy for the marriage. If you live so closed off, with only me in your world, I feel pressured too, you understand? I sighed, serving myself a bowl of soup. I have Chris now, you're not the only one. Felix shook his head and laughed. Still stubborn. I asked Kyle, and Chris only owes you a favor. Felix overheard about it and confidently assumed that the relationship between Chris and me was merely a social one. His good mood was almost palpable on his face. I'm a very generous person. If you really have someone else, I wouldn't mind. I'd even be happy for you. But you don't need to use Chris to lie. Getting involved with someone like him will only bring you trouble later. He was halfway through his sentence when his phone rang. Felix glanced at the screen, paused for a second, then casually put it on speaker. Hello. Honey, I don't feel well. My stomach really hurts. Zara's honey-sweet voice came from the other end of the line. You haven't come to see me lately. Don't you need me anymore? Felix raised an eyebrow, turned to look at me, his eyes even showing a hint of triumph. Who said I don't need you? I'll be right over. I looked at him, my face expressionless. Just now you said today was our wedding anniversary, and you wouldn't go anywhere, just stay home with me? Felix's smile faded, his face serious. Zara needs me. Can you be understanding? I just explained a bunch of logic to you, did it go in one ear and out the other? When I'm happy with Zara, I'm in a good mood. When I'm in a good mood, our marriage is good. How many times do I have to remind you of this principle? I confirmed again. Do you really want to go to Zara's place? Felix put on his jacket and stood up. I don't want to argue with you, Lily. You should think it over carefully. He left, and I just sighed, looking at my phone. If he had said it earlier, it would have been resolved earlier. I also had a very troublesome demon who kept bothering me, insisting that I go out to eat with him. The car had barely stopped when Jack immediately opened the door, pulling my arm in exasperation. Lily, you haven't come to see me these past few days. Did you forget about me? I raised my hands in surrender. No, the company's just been really busy lately. Jack was my university classmate when I was studying abroad, and also one of Felix's close friends. When we both returned to the country, Jack once invested with Felix to open a small company. Later, due to disagreements, the company dissolved. Felix went home to inherit the family business, while Jack continued his ventures alone. A few years ago, his company successfully went public, and he's now one of Nam Tan's rising stars. Of course, that's not why I'm with him. I was drawn to Jack simply because, among Felix's circle of friends, he had the brightest appearance. When that small company was struggling, Felix even joked a few times, telling Jack he should become an online celebrity or debut as a star. He would surely make more money than he was now. At that time, they both frequented each other's company, and my relationship with Jack also improved. I don't know when things changed. Perhaps it was after too many drinks, or simply, I was captivated by his good looks. After a party with friends, I took Jack home, and things just happened. Afterward, Jack cried, demanding that I take responsibility. He was so clingy, I couldn't escape. Perhaps I didn't want to leave either. Jack carried me out of the car. My princess, I prepared a lavish dinner. After we eat, I'll take you to meet some friends. I don't want to go. Isn't it better to stay home? What's wrong? Am I embarrassing? Do you have to hide me so carefully? I frowned, pushing him away. What's wrong with you? I haven't divorced Felix yet. He's acting so brazenly, what are you afraid of? It's true what they say, speak of the devil. As soon as we reached the elevator, I ran right into Felix and Zara. The two of them were holding hands, intimately leaning against each other. Seeing me, Felix was briefly stunned, then immediately erupted in anger. Lily, what's your deal? Are you still following me all the way here? Zara pouted, her tone full of sarcasm. Lily, you're controlling too much, aren't you? Do you need to chain Mr. Felix up and tie him at home? Felix frowned, irritably loosening his tie. How many times have I told you? Do my words go in one ear and out the other? With that, he pointed towards the parking lot. Go home right now. I was stunned for a few seconds, slowly realizing something, so Felix also had a home here. This residential complex was one of the most high-end areas in Namtan, close to the commercial center, and the surrounding schools were also the best. The smallest apartment had to be over 300 square meters. When we first got married, I suggested we move here, but Felix insisted that he was used to living in a villa, didn't like apartments, and had already rented this one out. Over the years, I had completely forgotten about it. Unexpectedly, it wasn't rented out, it was used to hide his mistress. My expression darkened. Seeing this, Zara became even more smug, clinging tightly to Felix's arm. No matter how much you chase after him, it's useless. Mr. Felix won't come back to you. Felix patted Zara's hand, as if to reassure her. Good girl, don't worry. Then, he turned to me, his eyes full of annoyance. Lily, can you be a bit more generous? Be a smart woman, okay? About that. Jack raised his hand, drawing Felix's attention. Could it be, she's not here for you? Jack? Only then did Felix notice him. He was stunned for a few seconds, then quickly reacted. Jack lived right in this residential complex. They had once planned to buy homes here together, so seeing each other was not unusual. Seeing Jack here, Felix was even less inclined to make a scene. He concocted a quick excuse, saying that he and his secretary had business to discuss, but I was worried and followed him here. Finally, he chuckled, feigning helplessness. Bro, you must be laughing at me. You know, Lily is too possessive. I really have a headache. Is that so? Jack chuckled lightly, glancing at me meaningfully. His hand slid down and wrapped around my waist. Then why isn't she possessive of me at all? Oh, come on, don't listen to him talking nonsense. I pressed the elevator button, calmly explaining to Felix. It's just a misunderstanding. I'm here for Jack, not you. You two do whatever you want. I don't care. And don't bother me, okay? Felix's eyes were fixed on Jack's hand around my waist, as if his mind was about to shut down. Ding, the elevator opened, and Jack hugged me as we stepped inside. Felix quickly followed. Wait, what do you mean? You two are. Zara looked at me, then at Jack, and finally turned to Felix. Her expression was incredibly rich. Mr. Felix. She hesitated for a moment, her face complicated. Haven't you realized yet? Jack and Chris are the same type of people. Jack immediately reacted sharply. Bah. What's Chris compared to me? He's just an opportunistic profiteer. How can he compare to us, childhood sweethearts, with deep and profound affection? With that, he tightly held my hand, as if to assert his ownership. Lily, you promised that after divorcing Felix, you'd prioritize considering me, didn't you? Felix stood stunned, his face turning from red to green. After a few seconds, he took a deep breath, stepped back, his back pressed tightly against the elevator wall. He trembled as he reached out his hand. You too, you too. Lily, you're using Jack to put on a show with you again, aren't you? Do you think I'm a fool? I told you not to use this trick anymore, don't. Felix didn't finish his sentence. Because Jack suddenly held my face and kissed me hard. I cooperated, standing on tiptoes and wrapping my arms around his neck. When the elevator doors opened, Jack half-hugged, half-carried me out, leaving Felix stunned in the elevator. When he came to his senses, Felix angrily ran after us. No way, you two, how can this happen? Jack, Lily is my wife. Jack put his arm around my shoulder, lazily glancing at him. So what? Zara, standing nearby, immediately spoke up, angrily scolding. You two are truly shameless. Jack sneered. Everyone's a third party. Do you think you're so noble? What right do you have to talk to me? You. Zara's face turned red, she was so angry she couldn't speak. You're the one who interfered. Felix and I have true love. Jack shrugged. What love? What the hell kind of love? What have you done for Felix? He looked Zara up and down, showing disdain. Everything you're wearing, everything you're showing off, it's all Felix's money, right? I'm different. I buy Lily houses and cars. I'm the one with true love. You're just a leech, riding on his coattails. What right do you have to talk about love? Zara was speechless, unable to utter a word. Felix's face was purple with rage, veins bulging on his forehead. You too. Since when? Lily, explain it clearly to me. I lost my patience. Why dwell on these things? You're the main husband, can't you be a little more generous? Be a smart man, just turn a blind eye. I'm not running away from home, right? Your constant pressure is really suffocating me. Do you want to see this family fall apart? Jack's face was cold. Then let it fall apart quickly. When are you two getting a divorce, anyway? See? He even wants us to get divorced. Felix, for the sake of this family, hurry home. I slammed the door shut. Felix finally came to his senses, furiously pounding on the door. No way. Open the door, Lily. Open the door for me. Explain yourself, open the door. I ignored him, because Jack had already wrapped his arms around me. The pounding on the door grew fainter and fainter until it completely ceased. Jack nudged me, smiling wickedly. Focus. An hour later, Jack was wearing an apron, chopping vegetables in the kitchen and humming a tune. He cooked skillfully, occasionally turning to ask me. Between me and Chris, who do you like more? My head ached. I thought for a few seconds, then looked at him decisively. You, of course. I'm just playing around with Chris. With you, I'm serious. Jack was satisfied. Come eat. It's all your favorite dishes. After dinner, Jack and I spent another hour wrapped up in each other. He glanced at his phone. It's almost time. Let's go. I'll take you somewhere. I changed into a different outfit and opened the door. The sensor light in the hallway lit up, and I was startled. You're still here? Felix was sitting slumped on the floor outside the door, his eyes bloodshot, his expression blank. Seeing me step out, his gaze stopped on my neck, his pupils contracting sharply. I raised my hand to cover the hickey on my neck. Is something wrong? Felix's voice was hoarse, like a blade cutting through his throat. Lily, let's talk. I nodded. All right, I also want to talk properly with you. Jack, you go first. Jack looked aggrieved, wanting to object but not daring to. He reluctantly feigned generosity. Call me when you're done. I'll pick you up. You promised, you have to stay with me today. I know. I won't stand you up. Felix quietly drove me to Namtan High School. The back gate of the school was next to the river, with a night market street full of food stalls lining the riverbank. In high school, I often skipped evening classes to come here and buy late-night snacks for Felix. He liked roasted sweet potatoes. I'd buy them, hold them close to keep them warm, and then bring them to his dorm. The sweet potatoes would still be piping hot. I loved this street for its simplicity, its peace, and sometimes I'd recall the time when I was deeply immersed in love, the years I dedicated all my heart and effort to him. In the first year of our marriage, we often came here for late-night snacks. Felix bought 2 roasted sweet potatoes, and we walked side by side along the river embankment. The wind was very cold, but the sweet potatoes were still hot as ever. I held the sweet potato in my hand, staring blankly at the river surface. I don't know when, but liking someone and sacrificing for them became a shameful thing. People called it dog chasing, or love-struck brain. Loving someone seemed to equate to losing oneself, losing independent consciousness, everything revolving around the other person. It sounded no different from being pathetic, submissive, and humble. I used to think that too. But now I realize. How could it be losing myself? The person who once loved Felix with all her heart, who gave her all for him, was also me. Doing something for him, seeing him happy, I also felt genuine joy. It wasn't fake at all. The power to love was mine. I gave love, and in my heart, I also received happiness. But I could also stop at any time. Just like now, I don't love Felix anymore. He's nothing, and he can't hurt me one bit more. I have loved, I have experienced, that's enough. I turned to look at Felix, smiling gently. Tell me, what do you want to talk about? Felix's lips curled up, but his smile was uglier than crying. Lily, can you honestly tell me? You and Chris, Jack, are you really? Without waiting for him to finish, I nodded decisively. Yes, both of them are my boyfriends. Felix's eyes were filled with disbelief. I don't believe it. Chris is so young, and his family is very strict about marriage. He's not young. I interrupted him, looking him straight in the eye, full of hidden meaning. He's bigger than you. The sweet potato in Felix's hand was crushed. He took several deep breaths, closing his eyes. You don't have to say that, you're just trying to annoy me. I shrugged. It's up to you. Whether you believe it or not is your business. Felix found a trash can, threw away the sweet potato, then took out a tissue to wipe his hands. I pulled my jacket tighter, shrinking my neck as I walked beside him. What do you really want to say? I don't want to stand by the river in the cold wind anymore. Unexpectedly, Felix reached out and grabbed my hand. Are you cold? I immediately pulled my hand back, stepping back, my voice full of disgust. What are you doing? Felix froze, the corners of his eyes gradually reddening, his gaze as if deeply hurt. You don't want me to touch you anymore, do you? Lily, we're husband and wife. I scoffed disdainfully. Husband and wife on paper? Everyone has their own life. I have no obligation to act out this deep love drama with you. Felix was stunned, muttering. It shouldn't be like this. Then what do you want? I raised an eyebrow, my voice even. You yourself proposed an open marriage. I agreed. I have Chris, I have Jack. With them, I realized that home cooking isn't so special after all. Now I'm no longer interested. Felix shook his head frantically. That's not true. You're a good, traditional girl. In your heart, there's only me. Your first time was with me, everything first was with me. You've liked me for so many years, how could you truly find another man? So that means an open marriage was just your own game? You set the rules, but you also drew a circle, thinking I'd forever stay within that circle, no matter what, I wouldn't escape? And you stand outside the circle, embracing others, making me watch you suffer in agony. This is what you wanted, right? Felix, you're too greedy. The streetlights shone down, engulfing me. I retreated several steps, until I stood outside the illuminated area, pointing down at the ground. Felix, look closely. I've already stepped out of that circle long ago. Felix was frozen in place, unable to move. He stared at the illuminated circle on the ground, his whole body trembling slightly. After a long time, he took 2 steps forward, stood in the middle of the circle, and reached out his hand towards me, his voice choked. I regret it. Lily, I'm sorry, I truly regret it. I shouldn't have done that. Now, let's come back into the circle together, okay? I'll end things with Zara. I promise I won't mess around anymore, I'll only have you. Let's start over, okay? This was the first time I saw Felix cry. When he held the ring and proposed to me, I hugged him and cried with happiness. He just smiled happily. Why cry? You should be happy. At the wedding, when we exchanged vows, I cried like a fool. Felix still smiled. It's a happy day, don't cry anymore. During our arguments, I would cry to the point of collapse, while he calmly frowned. Lily, what are you doing? Does crying solve anything? He was like an emotionless puppet. I didn't even know what could move him. Now, seeing him shed tears, pleading desperately, I felt no heartache. On the contrary, I felt relieved. Finally, I wasn't the only one suffering anymore. That was good. I once cried when I accepted his proposal, now he cried as I said goodbye. No one lost to anyone. I put my hands in my jacket pockets, calmly looking at him. Felix, don't cry anymore. Does crying solve problems? Felix stood frozen, his pupils dilated. I could clearly read in his eyes. Surprise, hurt, pain, regret, torment, self-reproach, and despair. I gently comforted him. Actually, it's nothing big. I didn't say I'd divorce you immediately. I'll be out for a few days, but I'll still come home eventually. Jack is here to pick me up. Goodbye. I turned around, without a moment's hesitation, and walked straight forward. Felix stood alone, his solitary figure elongated by the streetlights on the ground. Several days later, I still didn't return home. After finishing work at the company, I also had to take turns spending time with Jack and Chris, my schedule packed. Felix, however, suddenly changed completely. Every day after work, he would come to the company to pick me up, bringing a bouquet of flowers, humbly begging me to come home. Alright, both of them are busy today, so I'll go home with you. Felix's eyes lit up. Upon arriving home, he even went into the kitchen himself, preparing a table full of food for me. I hadn't even picked up my chopsticks when I received a call from Chris. Lily, I miss you. I hesitated briefly. I'm already home. I'll have the driver pick you up. But... please. Chris was a very proud person, unlike Jack, who was always clinging to me. This was the first time he had asked for something, and I truly couldn't refuse. I quickly grabbed my jacket. You eat by yourself. I won't be home tonight. The smile on Felix's lips stiffened, his eyes showing a fleeting expression of extreme sadness. Lily, today is my birthday. Your birthday? You have one every year. What's so important about it? Grow up a little. With that, I quickly left the house. As the car was about to exit the gate, Felix suddenly rushed out, standing in front of the car. I irritably lowered the car window. What are you doing? Can you stop acting so impulsively? Felix's eyes were filled with despair. You won't turn back, will you? Even if I do anything, it won't have any effect? I didn't answer, just quietly changed direction and stepped on the gas. The car swerved past Felix, speeding straight towards the sunlight. A year later, Felix and I divorced. Throughout that year, Felix did a lot to try and win me back. He walked the path I once did, but what was the point? The flame that once burned so fiercely had been extinguished by his constant cold water. The ashes had long ceased to be rekindled. Everything he did was just to move himself. After receiving the divorce certificate, I breathed a sigh of relief. Felix lowered his head to look at me, inviting me to one last meal. Can we still be friends in the future? No need. Chris and Jack are both waiting outside. It's too much trouble. I waved goodbye to him, lightly stepping down the stairs. Goodbye. Felix's heart felt like it was being cut by a knife. He reached out to try and hold my arm, but then dejectedly pulled his hand back midway. Lily. This time, it's a real goodbye. Chris and Jack took turns asking me when I would give them a proper title now that I was single. But marriage is something that, once it fails, it's hard for me to step into again. Would it be better to change to someone else? Perhaps, but I didn't want to gamble anymore. When Jack continued to pressure me, I stated frankly. From the moment we met, the situation wasn't right. I don't believe in that "you're the only one" kind of love. If, after getting married, I encountered something like that again. Jack immediately raised his hand to swear. I swear. I pressed his hand down. No, what I mean is, I'm afraid I'll fall in love with someone else again. Even though I was originally with Chris, when I looked at Jack's face, I was genuinely moved. Jack was speechless. After a moment, he gasped, stunned. Lily, you really are. I really am what? I really am very happy. Chris also didn't understand. Don't you want to settle down? They didn't understand. My heart once belonged to Felix. Then, it temporarily belonged to Jack and Chris. Now, it belongs to myself, Lily. I've long since settled down. And,